Welcome, everybody. This is Dr. Angel Acosta. Welcome to Capacity Building in Times of Change, podcast by the Acosta Institute. I'm really thrilled to host this particular episode. We have some special guests. This is part one of a couple episodes focused on the Acosta Institute Fellowship. And we have some fellows with us. The Acosta Institute Fellowship was formed last year. We launched it in April 2025 with a cohort of about 35 fellows. Cohort one, and later in the year, in 2025, we brought in another cohort of fellows. Right now, we have about 60 to 70 fellows from around the country, actually really around the world, who are committed to healing-centered education, business, and technology. The fellowship program is a 6-month intense kind of community incubator to help the next generation of healing-centered leaders, practitioners, and business folks to deepen their practice. And I'm just honored to be able to support these folks. Right now, we have 3 special fellows, Wanjiku, Linda, and Oswaldo, all of whom do very different work, but share this common mission of engaging in healing-centered work. So for this episode, I'm just hanging out with them, hearing about how the fellowship has impacted them and their vision for their work. So, hey, how's it going, everybody? Good to see you all. How are you all arriving?
Good, thank you.
Yeah. So let's jump right in. You know, at this point, each of you have a really unique relationship to the Institute. Beyond the fellowship and within the fellowship. And, you know, I've been able to watch each of you grow. Wanjiku is the one that I've recently really spent a lot of time kind of with her work. Beautiful work around integrated healing. But even with Wanjiku, I feel like I've spent enough time with you to know just how you're growing. And then Oswaldo, obviously, and Linda, you've been part of the community for some time. Could you speak to just how your work has been evolving as you've been in the fellowship and in the community?
Sure. Thank you so much, Angel. And I'm just so on so many levels, my world has changed. I mean, really, my world has changed. It has been a year that I've been with the fellowship, in which my dad passed in March. My son had 2 mental health facility spaces he was in, and at the same time, my husband lost his job. So, you know, in many circumstances, any one of those would be enough to crush somebody. But for me, this has been like the resilience and the courage and the heartfulness and the consistency. This is what it's meant. So I've been able to keep myself whole and at the same time grow as a professional. I'm a classroom teacher. I'm a teacher educator, and I've had 3 conferences this year. I was able to publish a book that has been on my, and I've been working on for 3 years. So I'm bringing this work to undergraduate and graduate faculty as well as a teacher educator. I'm so inspired by podcasts because I'm actually applying for a job right now within my school while still being teaching, in which I want to invite the parents into the conversation. So I'm really inspired by this construct of podcast. So, you know, it helped me apply for 2 pensions. I'm eligible for a pension in the UK and Ireland. It helped me, and I say this with great pride, write my father's eulogy. It helps me with lesson plans, rubrics. And again, I want to just yield the floor to so many of these great fellows that are here. And thank you so much for this opportunity. It's went way beyond what I could have imagined.
Yeah, and I just to say that I remember so many those different moments for you, Linda. And one, I want to thank you for sharing. You know, there's not every space you can share your whole self, right? And I just want to mirror, because part of the fellowship and part of being in community is being able to have a mirror a little bit, you know. And even if, like, every time you share that, I didn't say much beyond, like, we're here, I can tell you now, like, I can see you so strong and really, like, standing in your power. So thank you for that. Oswaldo?
For me, being part of the fellowship, it's an invitation to to take a pause somehow, to take a pause in my journey, especially in how I show up in the world, how I offer my service, and to deeply reflect if what I'm doing and how I am doing it is how I want to continue, or if this is a moment for, as you say one time, Dr. Acosta, pivoting, pivot, or
Mm-hmm.
or reconsider. And the community and the coaching component of the fellowship have been very, very meaningful, very useful. It is helping me to expand my possibilities, to consider, to go beyond, we have these filters, we have these biases, we have these limiting beliefs, and it is until someone else, it helps you to question those, first to acknowledge them, and where are my limiting beliefs, why I'm seeing my options in so limited way, and when someone else shows you that there is more in life for us, there is more opportunities, more possibilities there. Just the invitation is very liberating. And I think both the coaching component and the community
Mm-hmm.
are spaces that I'm appreciating a lot and benefiting a lot. And also the being in the group space with all the wonderful people, inspiring people that I'm getting to know here. It's also very important. It's a way to see the world and our social reality here in the United States and beyond through the lenses of other folks, other people who are really committed, who are so wise. So I'm getting some great updates about us as well, about what's going on in the world, what's going on here, through the reflections that people bring, because we are doing this not in a bubble. We are part of what's going on in the world, in this country, and we are processing that. This is an opportunity also to process how we are experiencing the current challenges. We know the challenges right now, the form in which power is used and is exercised, and how that is impacting our communities. And there is a space for processing that, for making sense of that. I cannot emphasize much the value that this opportunity is bringing to me. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Oswaldo. And I want to also emphasize you and your growth, and in particular, the pieces of the fellowship that are there. One of them is all the programming that fellows have access to in terms of healing-centered education, healing-centered business, healing-centered artificial intelligence, and then also you get coaching, right? You get a couple coaching calls, and then you're also part of the fellowship community with everybody else. And I remember, being in our coaching call with you, and you represent just a really wonderful archetype in the field, and this archetype is, for me, embodied by somebody who's so intelligent. Like you're so intelligent, and you have a huge heart. Now, the challenge with having a huge heart and having a huge intelligence is that there's an intensity with which you hold the work. And I remember in one of our calls, you were holding something a little rigidly in terms of growing entrepreneurially, growing a little bit more intensely. And I was just gently asking you what about this? What about this? And you and I kind of held this resistance together. And at the end, I don't think we resolved anything, but we were like, yo, this is there. This is there. And even just that, to excise, to pull out a resistance beyond you and have another witness it, that's a breakthrough in and of itself. So I just want to acknowledge you for that work. And in our next call, we're going to go deeper.
I look forward to it. Really, I'm preparing for it.
Yeah, good. Wanjiku?
Thank you, Dr. Angel. I'm very happy to be, in the institute and in this specific fellowship at this particular time in the world and in my life. I feel it came at a perfect timing. I'm all the way here in Nairobi, in the motherland, very happy. And one of the things that really warmed my heart was to be accepted, into the institute because again, I'm so far away, and it was an affirming action for me. Like there's a welcome here, there's a belonging here, there's space for you here and for the work that you do, and it is important and it belongs out there into the world. And since I have been in this space in the Acosta Institute and in the fellowship, I have really loved what I call the humanness of this space, the realness that people show up without facades, without masks. They just show up as who they are, beginning with yourself. You freely share of yourself, of your struggles, of your life, and then everybody else from the people that are working within the institute and also my fellow fellows. It's it's just such a relief to be in the presence of humans who are humaning, like just being. And also with the work that I do with integrated healing, with bringing accessibility to different healing modalities to people here on the motherland, and meeting all the struggles and the needs that people have here, expanding this space to include other ways and other forms of healing. It's a good thing to be in the presence of people who are practicing this, whether it in the education sector, which most of the fellows are in, but also in other spaces, like even in religious spaces, which is also a space that I am in. I love the all-encompassing ways that the Acosta Institute and the offerings cover. They feel integrated to me, which is one of my favorite words. And with the classes that I've attended, with the hangouts that I've attended with fellows, I have felt myself, I would say, opening up to more areas of me, but also to more ways of being in community, and I think that's a beautiful thing. Just the increase in self-awareness and the groundedness in self, but also the expansion to being present and being with other people in community. I'm really grateful to be here, and I'm looking forward, to more growth. There's also, the mental growth, the classes like the AI class really blew my mind. I'm still, I think I'm going to be recovering for a long time. So, and the archaeology of self, there's a lot of depth in the writing, in the poems, in the words, in the sacredness of ceremony. I just love the beauty of it also. That is my experience so far, and I'm looking forward, to more, and I'm very grateful to be here and also to share of myself, to give and to receive in this space. Yeah.
Yeah. I myself get blown away by the AI education, and with the faculty, we co-create that and co-create it, and I'm still like, whoa, this is intense stuff as far as AI. Something you said around becoming more open to other ways of being and other ways of thinking. This is something that I've really appreciated about leading fellowships, designing fellowships. Many of you know I was the one that designed the Garrison Institute Fellowship, and did that for 4 years, and then also then built the Acosta Institute Fellowship. And I'm telling you, like, I feel like I've gotten smarter. I've gotten smarter from designing and administering fellowships, because as I'm learning about, as I'm working with, as I'm coaching every single fellow who's coming from a different discipline, who's coming from a different perspective, a different country, I get just exposed to that perspective. So my mind has become more rich in terms of how I think. Any subject matter, either in my research, my consulting, or just my day to day, a subject matter, something could come up, and I can literally ask, like, what would Wanjiku say? What would Linda say? What would Oswaldo say to this? And it just kind of makes me more of a sophisticated thinker. And I'm really interested in collective intelligence lately. And so I think that fellowships are an opportunity to experience and embody and cultivate collective intelligence. That's what being in community is all about. But fellowships in particular, because they are so focused on, a particular idea, and the central idea that governs our fellowship is healing-centered education, business, and technology. So let's answer one last question before we transition. And as much as this episode is about the fellowship program to showcase the beautiful fellows we have in the within the community, and then also to invite future fellows to come and apply. We have the application process is open right now, so anybody who would like to join the Acosta Institute Fellowship, the application process is open now. So if you're hearing resonance here, feel free to check out acostainstitute.com and find our fellowship page and learn more about the program, the 6-month experience. As much as this episode is about that, the next question is less about your experience necessarily in the fellowship, and more about, I want to hear about what's the world you're trying to bring about through your work. What's the impact that you are trying to have with your work? Whoever feels ready to speak to that.
Yeah, I'll just come in, and I just want to come in in terms of adjectives. I'm all over the place, so I'm posting in the chat, but I just want to lift up the world that I want to bring in, and it was Oswaldo mentioned, is the idea of being able to let go, to just let go. I want to bring in a world where there's more of that happening, where there's more of incubation of imagination. I got an email from Dory this morning at like 6 a.m., where we're communicating in creative spirits, right? We're aligning in our creative spirituality, a world where we're witnessing, we're actually being with each other, seeing, hearing, and learning alongside and with each other. So that's a world that I really want to immerse in. And touching on what you were talking about a moment ago, beyond the groundedness and expansiveness, which I also heard, is a sense of our interbeing, the sense that, hold hands and the other hand lifts one up, right? That it's a world where we're always like this. We're just, I'll do this with my two hands, right? Where there's one hand that's holding and there's a one hand that's lifting. I want to bring a world where we can be in that space. That's the world that I want to live in. So I'm very sort of abstracted out there in my thinking. That's where I come into that space. So the relational nature of our evolution, and I'll leave it at that. Thank you for the offer, for the question.
Yeah. And for those of you who are listening, the person who emailed Linda, she said, was Dory, and Dory is another fellow. So fellows are in constant communication with each other about ideas, about projects, and we try to like pair fellows up with a common, with like-minded fellows to kind of collaborate. Wanjiku or Oswaldo? Yeah, jump in, Oswaldo.
I see myself as a worker of consciousness. I have a passion for education, but an education that really is education, that really fosters critical thinking and wholeness. So I want to contribute from the role of a educator. I see myself as a popular educator, as a group facilitator, in helping people through this change that we need to go through individually and as a collective, as we really tap into our deeper self. And when I say self, not only the individual self, but this shared being that we are all are, helping us to close the gap. There is a gap in between the ideals. There are beautiful ideas that human beings have put it in words. Just to give you an example, I am not from the U.S. I was born in Nicaragua. I'm an immigrant here. When I read the the main tenets of the foundation of this country, of the United States. It's beautiful. I mean, the wording, the language is beautiful. The Declaration of Independence, it's so inspiring. And then you see the gap between those, and then you realize that the people who wrote this were slave owners, and there was a huge contradiction there. You also see at the world level, you see the Human Rights Declaration, you see beautiful articulation of what we want as human beings, and then the reality of inequality, of oppression, of injustice. So I want to see this gap really closing, and me helping, being an agent of change in that closing by putting an emphasis on expanding our awareness, on wholeness, on consciousness as an educator. That's how I see myself.
Thank you so much for that, Oswaldo. Wanjiku?
Thank you, Dr. Angel. When you asked that question, the image that came to me was a circle. I'm a circle woman. I work in the circle. I'm a circle person. And that's the world I imagine. That's the impact I want to bring. That's the world I want to be a part of. It's a world that doesn't have this power over structures, but sits together, community circle. And I feel that's what you're building here at the Acosta Institute. And it's a seeing. I see you, you're seeing me, because we're together in the circle. There's warmth, there's care. But also the circle brings about the spirit of fun, of being alive, of food, of sharing, of ease, of abundance. And it also brings about the reality of the interconnectedness of life, where the animals, the elements, the humans, the divine, the ancestors, those here, those to come, are all communing together in a circle that doesn't have breaks. In the spirit of what Daman talks about, that every living things belong to every living thing. And we need each other to thrive. And I think also the call in this world is a call to humility, that the animals are not better than the humans. Water is not, humans are not better than water. The earth is not better than air. Everybody needs everybody, and everything needs everything. And with that humility, this comes honor and care. So it's a society where there's giving and receiving in mutuality, not a taking advantage of or abusing or using, but it's sort of like a trembling but it's a good trembling. Like, I'm trembling carefully. I'm trembling in how I exist, because I want to be good for myself, to be good for the environment, to be good for others. And the same is being reciprocated to me, which means it's a space where sustenance is not an issue, because it's happening as a result of the care, the diligence, the honor. It's just a beautiful space where the divine, humans, ancestors, animals, elements, everyone is in this beautiful circle, seeing, honoring, being with, enjoying, drinking from, giving to. So that's the impact and the kind of thing I want to be involved in and to do to impact the world. It is integrated living, so kind of. Yeah.
Yeah. No, thank you so much for that, Wanjiku. It's a beautiful image, and I'm just so honored to be able to be at the kind of the nexus of all this beautiful kind of thinking. And the last thing I'll say to close out for those of you listening is, and for you here, is that in a time where so much is happening, in a time when so many of the systems and the world orders that were put in place are in a process of shifting, there's a lot of disorientation and a lot of hopelessness. And for me, it's hard to be hopeless when I hear those visions of your world. And so we need to be in spaces where we're constantly sharing our vision for the world in relation to the impact we want to have, because that is what sustains our effort to changing the very world that is causing the suffering in the first place. So just wanted to give you some background on why I asked that question. So just thank you so much for joining us as guests, dear fellows. For those of you listening, if you're interested in the fellowship, just go to the acostainstitute.com. Be sure to kind of subscribe to this podcast through your favorite platform, share it with your community, and just know that our fellows I see us as a mighty lean machine. So with that being said, thank you everyone. Thank you for listening.